A blessed day to you all. My name is Peter Lino from Sydney, Australia. Welcome to Pathways of Hope. In these days of movie streaming, it is the case that people rewatch a movie they have already seen several times, possibly because they have found it entertaining or interesting. I am no different in that I have rewatched movies, and in doing so, have found myself noticing some details in the movie that I didn't pick up on the first time around. I can somewhat relate this in the way we read today's gospel. It's a familiar story, something that we have already heard or read previously, characters that are quite known to us, and dialogues we can almost already recite even before we get to that part of the story. Let us go through some of the highlights of this story. The gospel starts with one of the apostles, Judas Iscariot, approaching the chief priests and offering to hand over Jesus for the right price. It's worth noting that he was in fact the one who made the offer. It wasn't like he was coerced or enticed. Rather, he, as the reading goes, went to the chief priests. A lot of times in our lives, we tend to blame people, situations, or even the devil for having tempted us or caused us to do the wrong thing or make a bad choice. We may, in fact, at times have gone looking for these bad or poor choices. We may have put ourselves in these situations of sins. And yes, giving up our values for the right price, not in monetary terms, but in terms of our chosen currency, pleasure, personal gratification, pride, greed, to name a few. Further on to the story, as Jesus and the apostles were celebrating the Passover, and right in the middle of their meal, he drops this bombshell of a statement. Amen, I say to you, one of you will betray me. I could almost picture the scene. There would have been utter silence. You could almost hear a pin drop. Then there would have been some side glances with each other, perplexed, asking themselves, what is this all about? Who is Jesus talking about? I certainly hope he doesn't think it's going to be me. Then, as Matthew says in the gospel, deeply distressed at this, they began to say to him one after the other, surely it's not I, Lord. And in typical human fashion, every man or apostle to himself. I certainly cannot look bad in Jesus' eyes. I will most definitely need to clear my name, not me, Lord. Did anyone even bother to ask how Jesus felt? Did anyone go out of their way to ensure his safety and find ways to protect him? Of course, not that it would have mattered at that stage. Again, looking at our own lives now, how much is it of a second nature for us to instinctively stand up to defend Jesus when his name or when anything that belongs to him is threatened or ridiculed? Or is it pretty much like those that were around the table that fateful night? Not me, Lord. Then there was that very awkward and uncomfortable scene. The 11 have already declared or tried to clear their name. Then Jesus says in reply, he who has dipped his hand into the dish with me is the one who will betray me. The Son of Man indeed goes, as it is written of him. But woe to the man by whom the Son of Man is betrayed. It would be better for that man if he had never been born. Paraphrasing, I actually know who it is, but I will still do the Father's will and let things unfold as it has been prophesied. How painful and troubling that would have been for Jesus. The person who was to betray him wasn't a stranger, but one he had called his own, one of his 12 apostles, and was seated just right there in the same table. This is the same pain we cause Jesus when we betray him, when we turn away from him, as we dip our hands into the same dish. We don't do it from a distance. Rather, we do it right in his presence. He knows the wrong that we do. There's no hiding or pretending. And like Judas, we cannot simply echo the same words. Surely it's not I, Rabbi. My dear friends, we know this gospel story. We have read and have reread this passage. Has it, however, really changed our very lives? This Holy Week is a great opportunity to rewrite the story of our lives. May you all have a blessed and spirit filled Holy Wednesday.